Hello, today is Friday, February 27, 2026. I'm Tom Worth, and I wanted to briefly recap this week. A lot went on, but mostly to talk about more Americans leaving the U.S. than coming to the U.S. in 2025. That's the first time that has happened since 1935, 100 years ago. Donald Trump's first year in office on his second term. And what has happened over this first year? Well, we've had a net outflow of 150,000 people, roughly, more leaving the U.S. than coming to the U.S. That is due to a number of things. It's due to some deportations. We've had high deportations under Obama. That doesn't tell the whole story. We've got people studying in Europe. We've got over 100,000 college students, American college students over in Europe right now. That's a lot of people. Though I'm getting a lot of stats off of this Wall Street Journal article from a couple days ago, Wednesday evening, and it's caught a lot of attention. They talked to 12 college students over there. I mean, they talked to all kinds of people, young and old, professionals, people who just moved there, people who live there forever, college students. But the college students they talked to 12 of them across the UK, or I guess specifically across England and Scotland and Spain. And of the 12 studying currently in those three nations, only one has any plans to return to the US. The other 11 are good over there, based on what they've seen. They will take their chances. They won't make as much money. They will pay more in taxes. But the life is better, according to them, and according to many who have made the move. If you saw Trump's State of the Union this week, you'll know that it was in no way a reflection of the reality that Americans currently live right now. It was just lie after lie after lie. Him just saying things that we all know to be untrue, just outright falsehoods. That's what his State of the Union was for an hour and 47 minutes. Can't repeat this enough. Please don't ever watch him. I know I don't. We've also had AI issues this week. Just today, we had announcements from Jack Dorsey, one of the co-founders of Twitter, laying off half of his employees from his latest company, payment processing company. Half of his workforce, almost half, I believe it was, like 40-something%, explicitly to be replaced by AI. He thinks this is the way. This is what companies need to be doing. The more employees you can replace with AI, the better off the company is, in Jack Dorsey's opinion. So they are doing that. Meanwhile, Anthropic and OpenAI, they provide AI solutions to our government, including the Department of Defense. And Anthropic, that's one of the big ones. You've got Google's Gemini, you've got Anthropic, which is largely, it's got a lot of big backers, including Amazon. But they are not run by Amazon. Amazon's just an investor. Just like OpenAI is not run by Microsoft. They just get a whole lot of billions of dollars from Microsoft. But make no mistake, Sam Altman calls all of the shots at OpenAI. Anthropic seems to be a good guy when it comes to AI, if there is such a thing. They're trying to do it responsibly. And the Department of Defense and the U.S. government has been using Anthropic AI for things. And before they embark on further usage of their product with a whole lot of money coming from the Department of Defense to Anthropic, Anthropic said, we need assurances, Pete Hegseth. Okay, whatever assurances he will give you, you can't trust him anyway, but okay, you're just asking him for him to say, we're not going to use Anthropic's AI for facial recognition, especially here in the U.S. against U.S. citizens, or for unmanned weapons systems on the battlefield. Like, you have to have humans as part of the loop. When you're killing people in wars or wherever, you do have to have a human being involved in there somewhere. You can't only do it with AI. You can't only do it with, the AI might be used for recognition. And that's really important to say because once again, in the airspace around El Paso this week, you recall a week or two ago when this happened, it was going to shut down the airspace around El Paso for 10 days initially. And then a few hours later, the government said, the FAA said, yeah, never mind, we're open back up. That was because they were trying to use a laser to shoot down what they thought was a cartel drone near an Air Force base and near an airport in El Paso. And then this week, the DOD used a laser. So I think Border Patrol was using a laser to shoot down what they thought was a cartel drone. And then this week, the Department of Defense used a laser to shoot down a Border Patrol drone that was there around El Paso. And it's not on purpose. These things are making mistakes, and they're using lasers to blast things out of the sky. What if the laser was powerful enough to blast a plane, like a jet out of the sky, right? A passenger plane. What if it misidentified that? You've got to have human eyeballs on these systems. And that's all Anthropic is saying. They said you can't use our AI to use facial recognition against United States citizens because we know that that's what Palantir provides to ICE to look at these protesters and use facial recognition to see if they've been involved in other protests or like all sorts of nefarious uses for facial recognition technology. China leads the world in this, by the way, turning it against their own citizens to keep them in line. Those are illegal uses of AI as of now. And so you might say, why is Anthropic insisting on the DoD expressly saying we won't use it for that? Because what Pete Hegseth says is, well, we will only use it for lawful purposes. We won't use it for illegal purposes. And those are illegal purposes. And Anthropic's saying, fine, we just need you to commit that you're not going to use it for those things. And the reason that's a sticking point, and they still haven't resolved it as of this recording, by the way, they have till this afternoon to resolve it. Or Pete Hegseth said, you know what, just forget it. We won't use Anthropic's AI for anything in the government if you don't back off this demand that we say we won't use it against our own citizens and that we won't have completely humanless killing machines on the battlefield. It's because Anthropic's CEO knows that laws can be changed. And yes, you can say you will only use it for lawful purposes, and those things are illegal right now, but you can change the law. And now you can make it legal. And now Anthropic's AI could be used for those currently illegal things. And so he's just saying, okay, cool, just say, Pete, that you're not going to do that, even if the law allows it. And Pete won't say that. He will only say we will use it for legal purposes. He won't commit to those two things. So typically, here would come Sam Altman and come in and try to grab all the money and say, hey, no problem, we'll do that. We don't have any issues with this whatsoever. But a few days ago, OpenAI employees started signing an online petition in support of Anthropic, even though they're kind of bitter rivals. They trust Anthropic and they trust them to do the right thing. And a lot of OpenAI employees would be against those uses too. And so Sam Altman put out a company-wide memo today in support of Anthropic's position and said, yeah, we'll come in and bid on things too, try to fill in the gap if Anthropic's not there anymore. But oh, by the way, ours isn't going to be used for facial recognition against U.S. citizens or unmanned killing machines on the battlefield either. So yeah, we have those things. He said those are two red lines. Those are the two red lines that AI cannot cross. So when even Sam Altman has a red line, you know it's a big deal. Okay, so that's the AI stuff. And going back to what we were starting to talk about, which is Trump's first year in office, which is driving record numbers of American citizens away. we've got his tariffs, which just a week ago today, we had the big tariff loss of him by the Supreme Court. And then he immediately said, I'm going to put on 10% anyway. I'm going to put on 15% anyway. And then went ahead with just 10%. But those can only be done on a temporary basis. We all know that. And they are. Europe's going their own way on this. They're saying we're not going to sign anything because you keep changing the rules of the game. That's fine. We would expect Europe to do that. Well, what's going on in Europe right now? Europe has bigger things to worry about. We just had the 4-year anniversary of Russia's Ukraine invasion this week. And as was pointed out by Garry Kasparov, noted Russian chess master Garry Kasparov, who has been anti-Putin all along, and he's super smart, he's super well informed. He reminds all of us on the 4-year anniversary that the purpose of NATO's founding was to fight Soviet aggression in Europe. Soviet expansion, Soviet aggression. That is the reason NATO exists. That's it. That's it. The North Atlantic Treaty Organization. It exists to stop Russian aggression and expansion in Europe. And Ukraine is not allowed to join NATO, and NATO's not figuring out a way to get it done. And Ukraine is the only country fulfilling the mission of NATO, while NATO itself is not. And it's just completely wrong-headed. And Kasparov knows this. He's kind of chiding the Europeans about this, and he's getting pretty heated about it because he knows NATO is the only way long-term that Ukraine's going to survive. And were it not for Ukraine, then Putin would already be headed towards Moldova or Poland or wherever he chooses to be next. Poland's not waiting around. They keep increasing their military and their size of their army and their walls on their border. So they're not being kept in check by anything NATO does or doesn't want to do. Poland is moving ahead full steam with its own defenses and its own armed forces. Ukraine is left to fight the fight alone with its own people. It's really galling that Trump hasn't put his thumb on the scale in favor of Ukraine. He keeps saying Ukraine is the obstacle, Ukraine is the problem to a lasting peace. He keeps trying to surrender Ukraine to Putin, but Ukraine and the Europeans aren't having it. So it's another reason people don't want to be associated with the United States. They want to be on the good guys' side. They want to be on the right side of history. And then we have Trump's complete focus and the GOP Congress's complete focus on the Clintons for the Epstein debacle. And they're not hauling anyone in who could possibly know anything about it. Instead, they're hauling in Hillary Clinton. It's just a total disaster. It's a mockery of everything. This is why people want to leave the United States. Gallup took a poll in 2008. I'll leave you with this stat. Does this have anything to do with Trump, or is it just the world at large? Well, back in 2008, at the height of the financial recession, all the banks imploding, mortgages, housing, everything just completely spiraling out of control. You would think that would be a low point for American citizens. Gallup took a poll, and 1 in 10 people said they wanted to leave the country at that point. And they just took it again last year. That number is now 1 in 5. It has doubled from the height of the financial crisis. And the only thing that's different now for last year compared to prior years is that Trump came in and is doing everything he's doing. These numbers are way undercounted. The Journal talks about this throughout. Like, they're using data they have, but every indication is that their numbers are way undercounted for people that are actually trying to leave, and numbers, statistics of other countries, 50 countries they looked at. They're just incomplete data sets, but if they get the full picture, it's going to be way worse than they even realized for this report. 40% of U.S. women, this was a poll taken last year, 40% of U.S. women age 15 to 44 said they would relocate to Europe if they could. And that's a pretty shocking number. People think it's expensive. People think there's a lot of red tape. It's not expensive. There is a lot of red tape. but you can do it at some point. The benefits probably outweigh the risks of staying here, especially if you're certain ethnic groups, certain religious groups, certain lifestyle groups, whatever it is you want to say. Trump is going to come for you. Him and his people are going to come for you, I would say. It's just a matter of when, if they're not already. It's only been 13 months of him being back. It's only been 13 months. It's already got CBS, which owns 60 Minutes. As of last night, he's got CNN. Netflix finally pulled out of the bidding. Trump's FCC was twisting their arm all along, saying they wouldn't approve a deal for Netflix to buy Warner Brothers Discovery, which owns CNN, among other properties, because Larry Ellison's son wants to buy it. They are huge Trumpers. Larry Ellison's son is the one who bought the company that owns CBS. And as a condition of that, they had to fire Stephen Colbert. They've totally gutted 60 Minutes. Anderson Cooper left 60 Minutes just a week or so ago to focus solely on CNN, right? Well, guess what, Anderson? Now CNN is going to be owned by the same folks who control CBS and in particular 60 Minutes now. We've lost CNN and we've lost CBS in 13 months. I'm not sure what the next 3 years hold, but it's not going to be anything good. We can stem the tide this November. Damage is being done. And unfortunately, that's what we are looking like here at the end of February 2026 as Americans flee the country for Europe. Okay, that's all I've got for today. Give it a like and subscribe if you would. Share it wherever you feel compelled to do so. And I really appreciate you all. And we'll talk later. Bye.